Welcome to the Reviewed to Death Spotlight series, where we talk to the people making the things we like most. And today we have Viggy Parr Hampton back on the show. Thank you for coming back. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Luke's not here tonight. He'll be here for the next one. He says sorry he missed you, but he's happy that we able to get this to go tonight. And why don't for the people that maybe have not listened to one of our episodes with you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. So, I am an epidemiologist by training, and that kind of infuses itself into a lot of my books. I have soon to be 4 novels out, and all of them have a little bit of a tinge of medical or scientific horror to them. And yeah, that's my sweet spot. So, yeah, I love writing horror, I love reading horror, and I love watching horror.
Again, we're here tonight to talk about your fourth novel. I've read the second and the third one. I haven't gotten to your very first one yet. But this one is about lobotomy science, quotation
Mhm.
marks behind the science there. And why don't you tell us a little bit about A Veritable Household Pet?
Sure. So it's about a girl who gets a lobotomy at the age of 11, and we follow her in the aftermath of the surgery. And it's also about her older sister who acts as her caretaker and the reluctant scribe for her story. And it's told in dual simultaneous POVs so that we get Darla, that's our main character, we get her story, and we get her older sister's interjections throughout her life.
And a lot of your books, and pretty much all of your books, are grounded in reality
Mhm.
and the very real things behind this. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about Dr. Walter Freeman and what got you interested in this person and the things that he did?
Sure. So I mentioned I'm an epidemiologist, very interested in medical horror already. And I was reading a book called The Ice Pick Surgeon, and there was an entire chapter about lobotomies. And I'd heard about them before, but I hadn't really known what the effects could be and what the procedure itself actually was. And when I read more about it, I was horrified. For those of you who don't know, it was invented in 1936 by Walter Freeman, and it involved inserting an ice pick into the back of the eye socket, into the brain, kind of swishing it around, severing those connections in the brain. And the idea was that it could cure anything from hysteria to schizophrenia, but mostly it just left people incapacitated and completely hollowed out. And I thought, what better basis for a horror novel than that? To me, that is absolutely terrifying.
I completely agree. Having read uh, the Rotting Room, your last one,
Mhm.
and Much Too Vulgar, the one before it, this one felt the most real and also like the scariest for me because it's just the thought behind having that done to you is wild.
Yes. I mean, having that done to you is terrifying, but also being the person, like her older sister, who now has to care for her younger sister for the rest of her life. And then it affects her entire family as well. So it has these ripple out effects. And just to tell you a little bit about where the title came from, because I think that is also a source of
Hmm.
horror. When I did do a ton of research for this. And one of the things I kept coming across were these before and after pictures of lobotomy patients. And in the before, they always look very disheveled, very obviously unwell. And afterwards, they look better, but there is nothing in their eyes.
Right.
They look completely empty. And there was a caption under one of these that said, "The patient is now no better than a veritable household pet." And I thought that was horrifying.
Right. To think that that was like going to be an acceptable outcome for one of these things.
Yeah, and I mean, the sad thing is that sometimes that was better than being in one of these awful institutions. That's the sad part.
Hmm.
So, I mean, all around, it's horrifying, it's sad, and it affects so many people than just the patient.
And let's talk about these two main characters, the sisters. They're also based in part on real life characters, correct?
I fictionalized them,
Right.
but I have had people tell me that they are so real that it probably did happen somewhere at some
Hmm.
point. And it does connect a little bit to some of my previous work, but I don't want to give away anything. So I think people who have read some of my earlier books will scream at the ending.
And what were you trying to show? Because an interesting thing about your book is the way it's written. I mean, you've always got like a different prose style for your
Mhm.
books. And in this one, you have some from the perspective of the sister that's had the lobotomy. And then you have like little notes in a journal called the scribe's note, which is her sister. And what were you trying to show with that relationship?
Well, I knew I wanted to write from the perspective of a lobotomy patient. And I even read a book called My Lobotomy, which was a memoir by somebody who had had a lobotomy at age 12. But as I was doing more research, I realized that to be accurate, that my patient probably would not have been able to maybe write or to tell her story in a really coherent way. So that's where I brought the scribe in. And I wanted it to show the tension between loving your sister and also resenting her for having to care for her and changing your life when you wanted your trajectory to be so different. So I think it's very complicated in that there's love there, but there's also growing resentment. And there's a lot of caregiver fatigue too. So it's a very complicated relationship.
Yeah, I picked up on that while reading. And also, what I liked about this story is that it spanned like pretty much an entire lifetime. Why
Mhm.
was that important to you in this story?
Well, I'm trying not to give any spoilers. I knew what I wanted the ending to be, and I
Hmm.
knew I had to write towards that. But I also knew that I wanted her to have her lobotomy as a young woman because first of all, that's even more horrifying, and it's also realistic. And I figured if I'm going to write a novel about a lobotomy, let's really crank it up to 11. So I wanted to show not just okay, you get the lobotomy. I want to show what happens after because I think in a lot of books I've read, sometimes that happens at the end and it's the climax, it's the ultimate horrifying event, but we don't get to see what happens after. And I think that is
Hmm.
infinitely more terrifying.
Yeah, I've read multiple books where it's like you get to the end and you want to know, like you want to stay with the characters and you want to
Mm.
know what happens. And it was nice to be able to do that with this book.
Hmm.
Um, uh, wh- uh, just from my personal uh, thoughts on the book, much too vulgar. I was very much into the mystery of it all. I was super grossed out by the rotting room, and I think I was most engaged with this one. Like I needed to know what happened to these two characters. And so I would say, and I like to tell authors that this is my favorite one of yours so far.
Thank you. It's my favorite too,
Yeah.
actually.
So this one is not out yet. It is going to come out actually today, the day you're watching this video. So tell us where we can get your book and where we can learn more about it.
So you can get a Veritable Household Pet ebook, paperback format from any book retailer. I also have hardcovers exclusively on Amazon. And if you want to learn more about it, watch book trailers, you can follow me on social media at Viggy Parr Hampton or visit my website, viggyhampton.com.
I'll have all the links. There's going to be a link up on the screen here in a second too for you to check out. Also, can you give us a little peek at maybe what's coming next?
Of course. So my next book is going to come out in August. I'm currently getting my timeline together for that. It's called Ripped Up the Middle in Two, and it's kind of a cryptid creature feature motherhood horror.
Oh, that sounds very exciting. Like Luke and I love creature features here, where we just
Mm.
finished up our when animal attacks month, which is our always we do that in January, and it's always one of our most favorite months. So it's very exciting. I'm excited for that one.
Me too. It's probably the most personal of all my books, and it's very angry.
Okay.
I think people reading it are gonna be like, "Are you okay?" But people say that after reading all my books. So
Thank you very much for sharing this. Thank you for letting us read it ahead of time and being
of
able to
course.
talk to you. We appreciate that. And Viggy has been on our regular episodes, our regular review to death episodes, and as a frequent guest on there, she knows we like to have our guests play a little bit game. So, are you ready for a little game, a small game
I'm
for a small
so ready.
episode? All right.
I'm so ready.
So I knew that I couldn't do a traditional quiz about lobotomies because I knew you'd ace it 100%. You just wrote a book on it. So I switched it up a little bit. It's 3 questions tonight, a smaller game. And I'm going to give you a description of a movie or of a TV show that involves a lobotomy. And I want to see if you can name
Okay, awesome. Yes, let's do it.
it. All right. So here's number one. And this movie came out in 2011. All
Okay.
right. A young woman is institutionalized against her will, and to cope with her impending lobotomy, she imagines an elaborate fantasy world where she is a warrior. While in the real world, a doctor approaches her with the ice pick while she sits in an operating chair. What
Sucker
movie is
Punch.
this? Yes, this is Sucker Punch.
Awesome.
That is a fun movie. It's not like strictly horror, but that one sort of came and went. It's a shame because I think it's better than people think it is.
I agree. It definitely did not get all the attention it deserved.
All right, number two. This is from a TV show.
Okay.
And this particular TV show had this season in 2012. This sister, getting back to the rotting room a little bit, the iron fisted ruler of Briarcliff Manor has been overthrown and committed as a patient to her own asylum. The corrupt Monsignor decides she is too dangerous to keep lucid, so he visits her in a dark cell with a surgical kit.
American Horror Story Asylum.
Correct. You got it. I loved that season, by the way, except for the ending, which is sort of an American Horror Story problem.
Yeah, it was probably my favorite season, actually.
It is up
Definitely, I
there.
thought the creepiest.
It's
Yeah.
definitely up there for me.
Mhm.
All right, you're 2 for 2. Can you make it 3 for 3?
I hope so.
All right. A U.S. Marshal, this is a movie, by the way, 2010. A U.S. Marshal is investigating a psychiatric facility on a remote island. And at the very end, after a massive twist reveals his true identity, he sits on the steps with his partner. He realizes that if he doesn't recover, the doctors are waiting to take him to the lighthouse for a procedure. And I can
This
give
one
you a
I'm not
hint. I can give you a
sure.
hint if you'd like.
Yes, please.
It is based on a book by Dennis Lehane.
I want to say Shutter Island.
Correct. You got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well done. 3 for 3.
Woohoo.
Well, thank you so much, Viggy. I appreciate your time. All of her links are going to be in the description and all of her Instagram at viggyparhampton.com. You can follow her at Viggy Parr Hampton on Instagram. Go grab her new book on Amazon or any of the links that I put down before. And once again, thank you so much for your time, Viggy.
Thank you so much.